Okay, cool. All right, so we will just dive right into take two here, John, after some technical difficulties yesterday. I think we got those worked out. Let's hop back in. We'll take another look at bestself.co. Unfortunately, we can't get those, you know, unfiltered first impressions because we did go through this yesterday and had some issues with the audio, but we're worked out now. We're gonna come back and maybe we'll have some new ideas, right? Because we already kind of checked out the box on a bunch of stuff, but we'll bring some new stuff to the table. So let's start with first impressions here. As we get
Hmm.
things loaded up, I see a discount pop up. I see some social proof widgets popping up in the bottom left corner, live chat in the bottom right, and kind of a free shipping notification with a call to action in top center. Where does your eye go when I load the page here?
All over the place. There is too much going on here, quite honestly, between the rotating logos, to, as you called out, the five other things that are happening on the screen. I really just feel like there's a little too much happening right here. And part of the problem with that too is, we just got to the site and we're immediately hit with a pop-up. And it's just not a good branded experience. I'm immediately being told that Best Self's products, I may not even know entirely what they sell yet, but I'm being told, you know what, they're not worth what we charge for them. They're worth 10% less. And I think that that's a big issue here. In terms of the pop up, to just tear this down a little bit here, break it down, I'm a huge fan of not doing discounts, dollars or percentage offs. I really believe that brands should be focusing more on offers. So maybe it's, telling people that they can get free shipping if they spend a certain amount, or free shipping on every order, something else that is an offer, maybe gift with purchase for first time buyers, something of that sort. You had a really good idea, James, last time we recorded this, that maybe they should just come in and say, hey, for every new customer, we automatically give you 10% off. And, it's only good for your first purchase, which they say here, 10% off your first order, but you have to give them an email address to get it. And I think that's the difference. All in all, I'm still not a fan of a discount percentage off, no matter how you do it. But in terms of this pop up, it's good that they tell you exactly what you're going to get in terms of the description of why you should sign up and what types of emails they're going to sell you. So many brands don't even say that, to just say, sign up for more info or to stay in touch. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
no, thanks. They only ask for an email address, which is wonderful. And then they tell you they respect your privacy and you can unsubscribe anytime. So they've cleared the hurdles around that. I just think the offer needs to change.
Yeah, there's definitely something I would experiment with, right? Is like, can you do something here like if you have one of those little field notes notebooks? I'm sure that's a competitor, so sorry, Best Self team, but that's what came to mind for me is one of those kind of really thin ones that go in your back pocket just to capture a thought. Can you throw one of those in for orders over 25 bucks or something like that, right?
Mhm.
Can you lead with value and additional incentives versus margin drain, basically, is what a 10% off discount would be. So totally agree there. And I was going to call it out if you didn't. They do a better job than most right here in telling you what you're going to get in
Mhm.
exchange for that email address. So let's go back to the homepage here and look at what everything we see above the fold. It doesn't look like the social proof has continued through, which is interesting because I didn't notice that last time. Looks like
Yeah.
maybe there are a certain number that pop up or a certain time on page, but those have disappeared, which I think is a good thing because you've got several moving elements here and there's a lot of stuff competing for your attention. There's this big, beautiful blue hero image. There's the rotating social proof logos here just under the hero section. At the time, there were those pop-ups in the bottom left corner that were telling us that John in Montana just bought the intimacy deck or whatever. Lots of stuff vying for attention here, which means like nothing really
Mhm.
gets any attention. I bet people just panic scroll down deeper to find something that's a little less overwhelming, right? But you're the expert here, John. What do you see first impressions above the fold for Best Self?
Yeah. Well, let's start talking. Since you mentioned, let's start talking about the social proof pop up there. I'm not a fan of those widgets. We have tried them in several sites and run a lot of testing with and without them, and they've never helped increase sales or conversions. Really, what has happened is that when they first came out, a lot of brands, including really small stores, used them because it was free and cheap to get started with it. And then it was very clear that a lot of the stuff had been faked, or that it just really wasn't relevant. At best, you're introducing new products to customers. At worst, customers look at that and say, "Why do I care that John in Montana bought a deck?"
Mhm.
Right? And so I think that it's not really helpful overall because even if it's introducing new product, it pops up and then it's gone before I even have a chance to click on it. Even then, am I gonna really be interested in a product just based on the fact that someone else bought it and a title and maybe a small image? So I'm not a huge fan of that. Overall, starting at the very top of the page, though, the promo banner, get organized with the best self planner, now only $10. The only thing that performs well in these promo bars is free shipping, or at least minimum shipping. What is it required? The reason we really believe is that you're reducing a concern that consumers have. What do I mean by that? Well, how many times, James, have you gone into a shopping cart, added something, and then get hit with a surprise shipping fee? It's
Right.
just a really poor experience, right? And it's a concern. If you don't know somebody has free shipping, you're the whole time you're looking at products wondering, okay, that product may cost $9.99, but how much does it really cost once I get it into the cart and they charge me $10 to ship it? Right? You just don't know what that charge is going to be. So you're concerned about it the entire shopping and conversion journey. So, what performs best in those bars? Eliminating that concern right up front. Focusing on one product like this, and it really just doesn't seem to do much because I don't really know what the best self planner is. I'm first visit to the site. Am I really interested in one product? Probably not. I'm interested in learning more about what they can do overall. And I think that's where the navigation really excels. They've done an amazing job on that navigation of outlaying the categories of products instead of focusing on themselves. So many brands focus on themselves in their navigation with About Us and Press and all these other things that consumers aren't interested in. People are coming to your site to solve their pain or need, and that's really it. And so they don't care what you want me to know about the brand up front. I want to know, can this brand, or do they have a product that can solve my pain or need? And this navigation quickly says that they sell journals and planners, discovery decks, etc. And the little icons are really great. We've seen really great performance in testing icons next to navigation items. And the drop downs give me some options to dive deeper. But overall, I think it's pretty clear. The one thing I would eliminate out of this navigation is probably the shop all and that learn on the top left. It's really weird placement, quite honestly. Consumers are going to come to the site and start in the top left corner. That's how every eye tracking study we do, that's where consumers generally start, and then they quickly bounce other places. But that F pattern still holds true, right? They start in the left hand corner, look over to the right, see the logo and the navigation, go down a little bit, and then look at that main call to action or hero image. So what's happening here is probably people looking, they see shop all, and they're like, whoa, what site am I at, really, right? Am I at the right place? It just creates more confusion than it answers questions. So I would eliminate that. Don't know that that's necessarily helpful here.
Yeah, I think that's an area where I'd love to see a heat map here, both in terms of eye tracking, which we do for clients, but
Yeah.
also scroll tracking and click tracking, that kind of thing.
Hmm.
Because maybe it's red hot up here because of the location. Like you said, everybody starts in the top left, but I'm not sure that's a good thing, right? Because if somebody goes to your shop all, that's literally every product you have. It says
Hmm.
collections slash all in the destination URL. I mean, that's information overload central there. That's where I maybe go down a pathway that you don't want me to go down or that isn't most beneficial for me in terms of maximizing the chance that I actually complete my purchase, right? So this is really a distraction in that regard. Or maybe it's cold, right? Maybe nobody's giving it any attention because it's kind of tucked away up there in the corner. And the thing that grabs my eye is the blue background, this big text right here, right? The image. The next thing I would probably do is say, okay, what do they have, right? And I'm a little bit
Hmm.
more seasoned than the average consumer, but like, yeah, I'd be like, okay, what kind of products do they have? That's where I would go, and I'd figure out which one of these categories is best for me. And then the next step is which one of these sub options is best for me. And I think that's the ideal customer journey. So putting this in such a prime location might be a way to get somebody lost in the woods, so to speak, in terms of like figuring out where they want to go next. What about this hero image stands out to you? I think the product photography is beautiful. I like that they have a little bit of a sampling of their entire product portfolio here. So it's fairly intuitive to me. Like I see a notebook, I kind of know that's a notebook. Wouldn't be immediately intuitive to me that this is a card deck, aside from the word impact deck here. But when paired with this nav item, I kind of get a feeling like action pad, impact deck. We've got decks. Okay, I understand these things all map one to one. And I can explore farther, whichever one looks interesting to me based on my needs. So,
Hmm.
what jumps out at you in terms of this hero section here in the background image, the copy, the headline, that kind of thing?
Right. I love this and I really like it because it is not focused on one product. It's answering that question, can this brand help me solve my pain or need? What am I here for? And am I in the right place? And I think it's a great headline. Your best self is calling, fits with the brand extremely well, right? Best self. And then it tells you it's tools to help you think bigger, achieve more, and make meaningful connections. I don't know how you could be more clear than that about what their value proposition is, and that's always what we want to see here is value proposition. Shop now, I don't mind it as a call to action. I think that the goal is on any homepage is to get people to the next step in the funnel. So something a little more lower intent, like maybe I'm not really ready to shop yet. I want to learn more. Right, that might be a good call to action. Something that just gets people to go to the next step. Shop now is like, hey, okay, I know everything I need to know about this brand. I'm ready to roll. I think what's going to happen is people aren't going to click on shop now and they're going to scroll down the page instead. If you really want to push people from here into that next step, I would do learn more. That would really take them to that next step. Where does that go? It goes to
The
all
collections
products
page,
again.
yeah, all products, yeah. So
Hmm.
again, same argument as before. Like maybe I just get lost, maybe I get overwhelmed and bounce. That's probably not the
Hmm.
ideal consumption path or purchasing path for me. So if you're going to do this, maybe feature one product here and shop action pads or whatever. Like maybe something like that. It's either or, right? But sending
Hmm.
somebody to the broad collections page feels like suboptimal choice for this particular call to action right here.
Agreed. Agreed. Yeah.
One
So
piece of
going
feedback
down a
I'll
little
give
bit,
them is,
the
oh, go ahead.
oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, as the marketing guy in the room, one thing I've tried a couple of these planners in the past, and one thing that nobody ever does is show the page, like show the page filled out with somebody's handwriting and how they actually use it, and to see like the sections for how you plan your day, how you plan your week, how you map out your goals. Maybe that's because some of that stuff's proprietary and it's relatively easy to copy. So you have competitors come in and just steal your page templates.
Mhm.
There could be some information I don't have there, but I'd love to see a product used in context here, or even these decks. Like, let me see what a card from that deck looks like, and put it in the context of I don't know, a one-to-one meeting between a manager and their employee or something. And it's like,
Mhm.
is this a conversation prompt related to that, or a conversation I'm going to have with my spouse, right, about intimacy, whatever. Like, it feels like there's a step farther that we can go to showing the product in use, and that really addresses that point you made earlier, which is like, what problem, what pain point do I have in my life that I'm trying to solve, and how does best self fill that gap? How do they solve that pain or address that pain? I think you could take this photography a step farther and get people deeper down the page or into that next step of the funnel that way. Sorry to cut you off
Yeah.
there. We'll hop down
No,
to,
no
we're
worries.
going into the social proof logos here, I think, next.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm not a fan of auto rotating content only because it will really distract from every other meaningful piece of content. And I think there's enough high profile ones there where they could just list the top 4 or 5 and it would accomplish the same task, right? Which is just, yeah, we're legitimate. People like us. And I think that is something that could be really helpful. I would also want to play with the language from as seen on to something like featured in or recommended by, something of that sort. When you say as seen on, it could be that you advertised on those. And that's what consumers think when they see that. They immediately think, okay, well, they advertised on GMA, they advertised on CNBC, they were in Reader's Digest as an ad, right? But if you say something like recommended by or reviewed in or mentioned by or mentioned on, something like that, you'll have a lot more success with these.
Right. Maybe to address some of that, I'd like to see these linked to the actual coverage, not out to the New York Times site, but hosted on your site, some kind of
Hmm.
copy of the video, copy of the article, a PDF, whatever. Just show a little bit more validation, or even have one page with press coverage, which is basically your wall of love. And it's these little snippets of all these dozens and dozens of features that you've gotten. Gives me a little bit more context in terms of Not necessarily verifying that these are true, because I don't know, I'd be skeptical about them, but seeing what context it was featured in. And if it's a 60-second clip of Rachel Ray saying she absolutely loves your planner, that's so much more powerful than just logo on website scrolling around. I
Mhm.
can't stop these in any way. I can't navigate back and forth to find the one that I think I saw that I wasn't sure about. Like, just seems like that's a better use case. It's like maybe show 5 of these,
Mhm.
link the image to the actual example, host it on your site again. Let's keep people on our site. And then maybe have a text link that says, see all of our press coverage, or see all of our media coverage, or something like that. That might be a better use of that space. I don't hate it. I think it's a good place for it, just to show the credibility and the authority that the brand has. Could be better optimized, though, I would say. Moving down
Yep.
a little farther, we've got the mission statement in here, and then we get into a featured collection, which I'm guessing is supposed to be a replacement for our most popular products, or the ones that we just want to highlight to the average consumer.
Yeah, I like having the mission up top here and leading with that. I think that that's great. Again, it helps understand the brand even more, so that's great. The featured collection, though, I'm a little concerned about a couple things here. The first is that you're asking people to add this to the cart based off of an image, a title, a price, and reviews that you can't really read. So let's dive into each of those. I would not do add to cart for the call to action here. I would take them to the product detail page and I would do something like view details, learn more. Again, people are very unlikely to buy here. And the whole goal of this page, push them to the next step in the funnel. So if they're interested, give them the details. Now you can probably click on the image and go to that, but I think the add to cart just tells people that that's what's not going to happen. So that's a challenge. And then for these reviews, every single one of them has full 5 stars. And I just don't think it's that beneficial. Consumers tend to not trust 5 stars. They trust 4.5 magnitudes of times more than 5 stars. Just because, it's very unlikely that any brand is going to have all 5-star reviews. There's always people who are like, hey, 4 is my top and 5 is like only for like a 1 in 1,000 product that I just can't live without, for instance, right? So, and there's always that person who gets something shipped to them and it's a damaged box and they blame the brand and complain even though it was, UPS's fault, right? So it's very unlikely brand's going to have full 5 stars, and anything that states that, it just creates doubt. I would replace the reviews with one sentence or one line about each product, and maybe even remove the price and just say view details and get people in there. If that should be the whole goal here. And then last about this lockup is I really like the new badge. Those perform extremely well. We always there's a whole bunch of different types of apps even on Shopify that can dynamically generate those for you. And we've seen that when you call things out in that way, not only does it attract eyes, it also does attract clicks. So that's always a bonus.
Gotcha. Yeah, I would agree with all of that. I do think it's interesting that this entire area, like even this is linked. If I click on the reviews, it's linked. It's almost like it's not being highlighted here, but it's almost like this entire rectangle is clickable. So I think that's smart. I'm not sure how they're doing that on the code side of things. That's outside of my expertise, but I think that's smart, because
Both
if
of
I
us
click in
know.
the margin here, then it's still going to happen. So I think that's good from a user interface or user experience design perspective. Is like anywhere I click on here, it's going to take me to that product. So that's a good thing, because not everybody knows to click on the image, the text, whatever. It's still going to get the job done. So moving right along, we've got some more reviews here, and I know 10,000 or almost 10,000 is quite a few, but at the same time, like you pointed out, a full 5 stars across 10,000 reviews just kind of seems a little sketchy to me. That kind of makes me think, are they buying reviews, right? Or is there some kind of incentive for people to give 5 stars to get, something free, or a discount on their next order or something like that? Like, that's where I start to really question the validity of these. And I'd
Yep.
also love to see an element here that says verified reviews, right? Are they verified by people who actually purchased the product? Because that's important as well. If anybody can leave a review, then none of them are really worth anything, because everything could be fabricated. What are your
Right.
thoughts here on this review section?
All of that I agree with 100%. Again, I'm not a fan of the auto rotating cycling through. That's just not something that performs really well. Also, these are all super long reviews, right? I can understand if they were all one sentence or a handful of words, but you have like the one that's in the middle right now, or even all 3 of these. There's no way I'm reading these 3 before it rotates on me, or even one of them. So I don't know, maybe I'm just a really slow reader, but the average reads, they say at you need to have your content read at, what is it, a 10th grade level. So I would really think that anything this long is probably not going to perform very well. So on these reviews, if you are going to highlight them, I would pick 3 that perform extremely well for you and answer and address questions, and maybe swap and rotate those out occasionally. But really having this many recycling through is more of a detriment than a bonus.
Yeah, and you could always have a button that says read all 10,000 reviews or something like that, and still maintain kind of, and a button might call it out more than this text up here in the top right corner to say like, look how many we have. The other thing I noticed here is like, I was thinking maybe the text would take me to the review, but it looks like it takes me to the product, right? Powered by stamp.io. So shout out to your partner there. But if I open this up in a new tab, it's going to take me right to that product. I think that's super smart because if I like that review about this product, I want to buy this one product. Okay, there we go. Now it loads the review on a little bit of a delay there. So I think that's pretty savvy because if I'm compelled by the review from Rima, then I want to go see the product that I was just referencing there. But now that I think about it, I don't know if that's the same product, and it said Rima R on both of them. I thought on the so. Anyways, that's neither here nor there. But yeah, I think there's a little bit of work that can be done here in terms of just show me the 3 best. The scrolling is a little bit much, and then give me the opportunity to go explore all 10,000 if I want to. But I think it is super smart that they made these images shoppable because I think a lot of consumers will read whatever they can from this review, and if they like it, they like how it changed that person's life, they'll want to go buy that exact product, right? Moving down, we've got our favorites, which I think is pretty much the same as the feature collection we saw before. Not sure if you have anything to add there. Otherwise, we'll move on down to the footer area.
Yeah, I think it's exactly the same feedback for this section here. So yeah, I don't know that there's anything else to add.
Cool. So let's get down into this. This is kind of, I don't know what to call this area. I always call it a kicker box. It's like at the bottom of the page, but right before the footer. This looks like they have a campaign going on right now where they have a profit sharing or a donation made for every purchase to Feeding America. My general feedback here is that you could probably get rid of this. This isn't really adding much, just saying Feeding America up here. So maybe this becomes the headline. You take this text and put it down below as a subheadline and tell me a little bit more about what Feeding America does right here on this page without having to go deeper. So it's like 1 meal to Feeding America, and then I don't know anything about Feeding America, but say part of your purchase will go to provide meals to homeless people or something like that, right? Or underprivileged children or something. Tell me where my dollar is going. I know that's the purpose of the Learn More, but I shouldn't have to leave kind of the homepage to get some sense of what this means. And then if my interest is piqued and I want to learn more about exactly how they get those meals into the hands of those people, I can go learn more. But I just don't have enough information here to really compel me to do anything more than keep scrolling, right? Or go somewhere else. And so I think you could give a little bit more information up front there.
Yeah, we see this all the time, right? And the more specific you can be, the more it aids the conversion journey. So, but great points on all fronts there.
Awesome. So I'll let you pick apart the footer here. I know that this is kind of your wheelhouse in most of these teardowns, and we have kind of some standard feedback that we usually give. What do you think in first glance here when we look at the footer and some of the calls to action that are presented there?
Yeah, first glance is about us above shop is really confusing to have, that be a header and you're stacking 2 headers. And normally in these navigations and the footers, you really don't want to stack your call to actions. So a couple of things to be thinking about here. I do love how on the far left it starts with shop. I think that, one thing that's missing there is the digital downloads. I'm not sure why they have everything else but not digital downloads. So I make sure that's added there. You always want to replicate your main navigation, or at least the big categories here. I would move about us all the way to the right over, so it would be shop, resources, and then about us. And I would put a few items under there. I would move things like, affiliates, ambassador program, reviews, speaking, press, careers, that would all go there. And then I would have the email sign up, and we should talk about that briefly. But the email sign up, I would remove the first name. All of a sudden, not only are you changing the form here, you're also changing the offer, right? So they went from that discount to the 5 days course. this would be a great thing to have in that pop-up instead of a discount. It's a good offer. But they've done everything else well here except asking for the first name. If you really don't need it, I would eliminate it. Not sure how it adds value for you to deliver the course, other than personalizing the email, which really is not necessary. Um, and I do think otherwise that's great to have down there, and then you can add people to your email list. To the right of that, you really need to have a contact column. This is where I would move connect with us as a header. And then you really want to have, as you've coined, the trust trifecta, right? So that is have the physical address, an email address for support, and a phone number somebody can call if they have questions. Those are the things that are really going to drive conversions. It just increases trust dramatically to have those three items. Now, if you can't have all three for some reason, okay, then start with two. But nobody's going to show up at the address. You could even list a PO box. It just adds a layer of legitimacy to the brand. And an email address is really quick. Just here's, if you want to get a hold of me, here's where you can reach me. And even if it goes into a support ticketing system, that's perfectly fine. And then a phone number, if they want to get in touch with you, how do they do so? Most brands have this, but they bury it on a separate page, on a support page. Just put it here. We have seen this for a decade plus. If people want to get a hold of a brand, they don't look at the navigation. They don't look at the page content. They immediately scroll down, look in the bottom right-hand corner. Now, I understand you have chat, and chat can be fine, but a lot of people are really, honestly, chat is starting to become overrated, meaning that so many brands have chat, but it does nothing but start a ticket, a support ticket, and there's not a human behind it. And so it's one thing if you have them staffed for the majority of the day. If you can't staff it for at least 12 to 16 hours, then I would recommend really just not even having chat. I would just ask people to email in. That's going to be a better experience overall for a brand.
Got it. Love all that advice. One thing I'll call out here in the very small text in the corner, it says free shipping on order. Well, it should be orders, but it says order $65 and over US.
Mm.
That just seems kind of like an afterthought down here. I'm not sure what purpose it's trying to
Yeah.
serve. One thing that jumps out at me is $65 feels pretty high for a product of this nature to earn free shipping, which tells me shipping must be expensive, right? Because it's heavy, it's big notebooks, heavy paper, it's decks of cards or something like that, which goes back to your earlier point. Free shipping can be a really compelling offer to feature up here in this bar at the top of the page, especially when shipping is typically $10, whatever it's going to be to get these to your doorstep. So maybe it's worth testing, right? Like maybe it's worth A/B testing the Best Self Planner up here as kind of a campaign-based CTA versus free shipping on orders of 65 or more or something like that, and just see if that has a difference in terms of average order value or conversion rate or any of those KPIs that you'd be focusing on. Because I just think that it's got to feel really poor to buy, I don't even know how much the journals are, but let's say, they're 30 some dollars. If I get to the end and it's 10 or 12 bucks to ship that's 30% of the product cost, right?
Yeah.
So if I can find a way to get somebody free shipping, the psychology about it doesn't necessarily make sense, right? The total cost of the product might be the same if you raise your price or whatever, or you raise your average order value and cover shipping that way. But like, as a consumer, we just don't want to pay money that doesn't go directly to the product and just gets it to our door. It just doesn't feel good, right? It's consumer psychology 101, and it doesn't make sense, but that's how it's work. So maybe it's worth experimenting with this exact free shipping CTA up here in the bar and just see if that outperforms kind of this Best Self Planner campaign, because right down here it's not doing anything for you, and it has an asterisk, and I'm not sure where the original asterisk reference is. So
makes
that's my 2
me
cents on the flare.
concerned and suspect of that, right? And so
Right.
that's what you're going to be thinking about.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Well, I think we covered a lot today, despite the homepage being fairly simple. And, not to get things twisted, like they do a lot of things right. There are a lot of best practices that we usually recommend that were already checked here in terms of what they're doing. So we're just trying to find those additional opportunities that could have more impact, because I'm sure Best Self is doing just fine out there in the market. So as always, John, I really appreciate you taking time out of your day to share your expertise with us. We'll get this over to the Best Self team, and hopefully they'll find something value from the insights that we shared today.
Great. Looking forward to hearing how these impact the conversions and sales.